One of the things I was so happy to be able to do when I came back today was meet with some of the student directors at the ACE Campus Food Pantry. I'm not going to give you the whole spiel on that whole thing, but just the short of it is, that was a project that I helped spearhead. It took 2 years to get that started when I was an undergrad here at Purdue, and that was the start of what I would consider my self-awareness journey. I don't know what y'all are used to do for these types of presentations, but I'm going to really challenge you today to really dig deep and think about yourselves personally and become more aware of things that maybe you hadn't thought about before. My hope is that you leave this presentation with a little bit more knowledge of who you are as a person, what you want out of the rest of your time here at Purdue, as well as maybe what you want in the workforce when you graduate, and also to become more aware of maybe some of the things that you're telling yourself, some stories that you tell, that maybe you could reframe and think about them differently so that you can have a more positive outlook on your day-to-day life. That's my goal for you today. The first thing that I want to do is just give you a quick little story on why I'm really even talking to you about self-awareness. I had the option to choose between 4 topics, and I chose self-awareness. And the reason for that is after I graduated from Purdue, I actually did undergrad and graduate school here. So I spent, I think it was about 7 years here, like 4 for undergrad, and then I had a semester off. I did research for a little while, and then I did 2 years in grad school and helped in kinesiology. When I graduated the graduate program, I identified myself as someone who was a student and a researcher, and I thought that that was genuinely what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I'd work in a research lab, and I said, this is it, this is what I want to do, I'm good at this, but I never really felt that that was something that I was genuinely passionate about, but it was something I was good at. So I said, all right, I'm going to move, and at the time, I had moved to Austin. I moved to Austin, Texas. I followed my girlfriend at the time to Austin, Texas, made a huge life change, and then the pandemic hit. So it was in 2019 I moved, and then everything shut down, right? So now I'm looking for work. That's a struggle. Can't find a job. Pandemic's hit, everything's shut down. So I'm sitting here wondering, what in the world am I going to do for the rest of my life? Can't find a job in this area that I thought I was going to do, and everything's closed up. So I spent 1.5 years. At that time, I got certified as a personal trainer here as well, so I did a little bit of that just to hold me over, okay? And then I found what Eileen mentioned was an opportunity with the tutoring company. So I got those 2 going, and then once all that kind of settled, a couple years later, then the relationship that took me to Austin, Texas abruptly ended. So now I'm in a position where I moved to this state, to be with my partner, and the job situation isn't super steady, but it's kind of there, right? So I'm asking myself, okay, what comes next? What am I going to do for the rest of my life? And it was through the work that I got involved in, not only with Access College America, but with a boutique wellness company called OsteoStrong, where I met some incredible people that I got to work with that became mentors to me, including the owner of that company. And I did a lot of deep personal work, also with professional help too, where I became more aware of who I am, what I want out of life, and why I do the things that I do. And so what I'm going to do with all of you today is ask you one small favor. Just ask you to be open to the experience of what we're going to do, the activities we're going to do, and I promise you that you will leave here having gained some value out of this, okay? The first activity that I'm actually going to ask you to do before I go into the slides is, and Eileen and Jesus, could you guys get this stuff passed out to them? The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to just list off, when you have your papers, I want you to list off 5 things, and even if you can, before they get to you, you can type it if you want to, but I'm a big believer, and educational research backs me up too, that writing these things out are going to help you connect a little bit more personally with these things, okay? So when you get your paper, I will ask that you write these portions out for all the activities we do today. That's the only thing I ask. 5 things that you are proud of. 5 things you are proud of. And that could be something you've accomplished. That could be a belief that you hold, a moral that you hold. That could be something that you've done recently, in the last week, the last year, the last month. 5 things you're proud of. I want you to be thinking positively and acknowledge the wins that you have, because you deserve that. You deserve to do that, and we don't do it enough. I don't do it enough. Certainly I don't. So I'm asking all of you to do that now. Think about 5 things that you're proud of. Could be something, again, you've accomplished, something that you believe in. Could be anything. So we're going to take a minute to do that, a couple minutes, and as the paper's getting passed out, we'll let all that settle, and then we'll come back, and I'll walk you through the next step. I know they're still getting some of the papers passed out, but I do want to give you kind of the next little directive here. Even if you're still working on the 5 things you're proud of. And it doesn't have to be 5. If you can't think of 5, that's okay. Oftentimes when I do these exercises, it's hard to even come up with 5 sometimes. That's totally fine. But what I want you to do is now, when you're working through the 5 that you're most proud of, I want you to focus on wins that you've had in the last week. Just 2. Just 2. So what is a win? What does a win mean? What is something that you've done this last week that you consider a win? Did you do well on the test? Did you just have a good day? Did you have something delicious to eat? It could be anything. I want you to write down 2 wins that you've had in the last week. 2 wins, and then we'll see how we feel about sharing. And there's no pressure, by the way, because I'll share myself if we don't get anybody from the crowd, but I'll at least give you the opportunity to in just a moment. Show of hands real quick if we have what we're proud of so far. Show of hands. Awesome, okay. Show of hands for wins. Wins in the last week? Okay, great. Are any of you willing to share a win you've had in the last week? Awesome.
I got 101% on the quiz today.
Oh, that's huge. That's awesome. What class was it?
It's my German 401. It's for my minor.
Ooh, that's impressive stuff. Okay, so 101 on a quiz. What else we got? Anybody? Sure, what we got?
I haven't been hitting the gym this semester, but this morning I woke up at 5 a.m. in the gym.
That is awesome. Yes. Getting back on track? Yeah, good. What else? One more. Let's do one more. One more win. Oh, we got a bunch. Okay, we'll go. Actually, we'll do them all. 1, 2, 3. So we'll start up front.
Getting better after being sick first time home alone.
Really? That's incredible. Thanks for sharing. What we got behind you?
I was able to relax this Saturday, which I haven't done in a long time.
Sometimes even relaxing is doing nothing, right? Honestly, that's good for you. How about one more?
I finished working on a Python project.
How long did it take you?
It was supposed to be for 3 weeks, but like everyone in the class like waited till the last week.
Oh no, but you got it done?
Yeah.
Wonderful, so awesome. Okay, so this is a great start. So now we've got some wins. Who's willing to share just one thing that they're proud of? One thing. Anybody? Sure, what we got?
I've learned to let go of relationships I don't exactly serve my better mental health.
That is probably one of the hardest things that you can learn to do. Seriously, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I would say that if I had to share one, I would be something similar to that. It would be, for me, it would be just recognizing when a relationship isn't serving me and being able to remove myself from that situation. That's just, it's such a powerful thing to be able to do. Could we get one more person to share one thing they're proud of? Sure, what do you got?
I'm finding time to regularly practice piano every day.
That is, how long have you played piano?
About 10.
Did you say 10 years?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is, thank you so much for sharing that. And stuff like that, what these things mean to you, they're all going to mean something different to you. But the reason I had you list out what you're proud of and the wins that you have is so that you go into the next exercises with a positive mindset. Because day to day, you need to remind yourselves of the things that you've done that are good, that are going to fill you up. The next activity we're going to do is a values exercise. And the reason we're going to talk a little bit about values is that as you transition, well, many of you may not be in a transition period yet. How many juniors are in here? Raise your hands real quick. How many juniors? Any seniors? Okay, sophomores? Awesome. Any freshmen here? Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got a great mix. Okay, so many of you starting your journey, a good chunk of you at the end, near the end of your journey in school. And so as you either start your journey or transition out of it, understanding what you value is going to be a driving force for everything you do from here on out. And it's one of the things I wish I had done when I was in your position, when I was here, that I took a better look at what I value before I put myself in the position of, moving to another state or taking on jobs that, out of necessity without aligning with my values. The reason I mention this is because when you start to get more involved on campus, or when you transition from campus to the workforce, when you align what you do with what you value, you're never going to ask the question why. It just won't even be a thing. When people talk about, there's always that phrase, it's like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Okay. So I'm kind of, back and forth on that. I think there's always parts of work that you do that you're not going to necessarily enjoy. But I do think if you align what you do with what you value, it generally may not feel like work. It will actually feel just like something you're doing that's fulfilling. So I think the switch on that, what I would say is if you do something that you align with what you value versus just what you love to do, I think that's important. So what I want you to do with your values, you've got a sheet right now of probably 40 or 50 values on there. All I want you to do is pick 3. You're going to pick 3 that you hold strongest. Pick 3, you can circle them, whatever works for you. Pick 3 that you hold strongest to you. And I do want to make a quick comment on that. This is just generally, overall. Keep in mind that your values will change based on the situation you put yourself in. Or rather, your priorities will change. Your values can change over time. It's true. If you're just starting your collegiate career now, you'll value different things now than you will in 4 years. For instance, when I was here, I genuinely valued being in a leadership position. That was what I valued. I valued the opportunity to be in leadership roles. And as I've grown older, it's similar, but it looks different in a job setting, right? Instead of being in a leadership position, the value is I just value uplifting others. And sometimes that's in a leadership position, and sometimes that's not. But the values generally stay similar, they just kind of transform over time. So what I'm asking you to do is just pick 3 general values that you hold strong, or of that group, and they don't have to be those. You can but you can write, fill in anything that you want. Those are just suggestions. I'll share one of mine with you that when someone asks me this question, it comes up automatically every time. And for me, that's loyalty, for better or worse. In some instances, I do tend to be someone who, when I get with an organization, whether that was here at Purdue or in the workforce, sometimes you just stay too long. It's something that you may run into if you are like that. What I mean by stay too long is just stay in circumstances that might not serve you or have not served me, but I'm loyal to the organization. So here it was, my fraternity, of course the food pantry, college mentors for kids, and student government. And when I was doing all of that, I just found myself overcommitted. But I was trying to stay loyal to every organization, and I had to make tough decisions. But loyalty is number 1 for me. So now what I want you to do, you've got your 3 now, kind of foreshadow. Just go ahead and pick one. I want you to pick one. You've got your 3, I want you to pick one. Anybody willing to share what their value they chose is? Maybe in the back. Oh, I think I saw it. Yeah, what you got?
I think respect.
Good. Would you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Me personally, I just feel that, just the personal relationships that we have with people and organizations and the things we commit ourselves to, it's important that we kind of hold all of each other to a level of respect, and that no matter what anyone is going through, no matter who you meet, that you remember that they're Cuban and you treat them right.
That is an awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What's your name?
Jake.
Jake? Thanks, Jake. That speaks to me on like such a deep level, because I work with people every single day. I work with high school kids in one career-focused job, and I actually work with older adults in my other career-focused job, and I'm constantly going through that process that you just talked about. Because honestly, dude, and for everyone, not just Jake, but for all of you, the day-to-day is rough. Like, it can be rough. Like, y'all are students here. And I remember what it was like being a student, it was rough. Like, you got your tests, exams, you're balancing, you know, organization commitments, your everything. And you come across somebody, you're just like, gosh, like, well, maybe somebody's trying to confide in you or whatever it might be. And yes, respect is a great one to keep in mind, because you're right, everyone's going through something, and we just want to make sure and remind ourselves that everyone's human. That's awesome. Would someone else like to share their value they chose? Sure, what do you got?
Productivity.
Productivity, okay. Elaborate, explain a little bit.
The most thing I value the most is time, and productivity goes in sync with time. It saves time, basically.
May I ask you a follow-up question?
Yeah.
What is it about time that you value?
The fact that it doesn't come back. It's something that once it is lost, can never come back.
What's your name?
Thiresh.
Teresh. I am working with a student right now who has some very similar thoughts to what you're talking about, and it's just got me thinking about this concept of time. And I love that you point that out. So productivity and time, that once it's gone, it's gone. It's the only resource, like one of the only resources that you can't replace it. It's gone. And so when you say that, I want to take a moment, just this moment, to thank each and every one of you that are here tonight. Whether, I totally get that some of you here are, maybe you've got a lot of other stuff going on, might not be as mentally engaged. I've been there, I get that. Regardless of where you're at mentally tonight, I just want to thank all of you for allowing me to take some of your time. Genuinely, I just having the privilege to be able to do that, just to use some of your time to share what I'm sharing. Thank you. I appreciate it. Would one more person like to be able to share their value that they chose? One more? Yeah.
The value for me is balance. Like, I believe that in life there should be a balance of everything. Like, a balance between the time you give to relate to different relationships, different kind of relationships, to your friends, to your family, to your significant other. The balance between academics, co-curricular, sparking. It's important to have fun, it's also important to stay focused with your career, towards your goals. Balance between sacrifices and progress towards your goals, and enjoying being in the moment. Balance between everything in life. To me, that's very important.
I'm going to share a quick story because this hits home for me personally. I'm going to share with you kind of what he's talking about with balance can be critical because I'm in a position now, we're in this last year, balancing two different careers. Not all people will be in that position, but even those of you that are in that position now, you're balancing multiple commitments with your classes and everything. Balance is so important. I think there's definitely a time where we lose sight of that, right? We're just so focused on reaching the end goal, getting through college, getting good grades in the classes, and whatever your motivations might be. If we can just take a moment to sit and remind ourselves that balance piece is critical, I think it goes such a long way. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Okay, so now we've got our values. We've got what we're proud of, some wins we've had, got some good energy. We know what we value. So then, the next question is, what do you want? What do you want? That is the next question. And this is something that I've had a very long time to think about. And it's always evolving. It is always evolving. The question that you have to ask yourself is, what do you want? And what we're going to do here, so for this activity, now if you watch this recording back again, this activity is actually supposed to be a 10-year thing, but we're cutting it down for today because we don't have the time to do a 10-year activity. So what I want you to do is think about what you want over the next 5 years. This is not a question like an employer is, well, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? It's like, I don't know, maybe at this job, I don't know. This is not what that is, okay? This is not what that is. I'm asking you what you want out of life in the next 5 years. It could be what you want to do. Who do you want to be as a person? What do you want to see? Where do you want to go? Or what do you want to have? Don't be shy about this. This is between you in your paper right now. I am going to give you about probably 5 full minutes on this. When I did this activity, I was instructed to do 50 goals that I had over the next, again, it was 10 years and it took me 2 hours. So we're not going that crazy. Just write as many as you can. If you get to 20, 25, awesome. But it's really important that I clarify something. This is not, I'm not asking you what you think you could do or what you could be. I'm genuinely asking what you want. And I want you to write these things out. This could be next week, this could be next year, this could be in 2 years, 3, 4, but cap out at 5. And then we'll come back. There's multiple steps to this. We'll come back and we'll reconvene in 5. So work on that, and please write, at least that's what I would suggest, is writing that out. And then we'll come back. Okay, what I'd like for you to do next, with your goals that you have, we're going to go through the list, and I just want you to mark off just the ones that are attainable within the next year. So just check, you can mark them however you want. Whichever you wrote down that are attainable, that you feel will be attainable in the next year, I want you to mark off which ones those are. And then add up how many you've got that are within the next year. Now I will tell you that if you want to do this activity on your own, or for anyone watching the recording after, you'll add up all of them. So you'll mark off the ones that are the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and add them up separately. But for now, I just want you to note off the ones that are within the next year. And then for those of you that have already added those up, raise your hands that you've added up within the next year. Okay. Okay. Could I get someone to tell me how many total that they had? Just anywhere, you can shout it.
Total of the next year?
Yep, next year, yep.
13.
13. What else? I saw a few hands over here.
I had 4.
4, 6, 13. Anybody else? Yeah, well, how many?
None.
You say none? Okay. Anybody else? Right here?
17.
Okay. So for the gentleman, for in the back, you've got none in the next year, jump to 2, like within 2 years. If you don't have any for 2, jump to 3.
Probably 3.
Awesome. So now what I want you to do, if you've got enough for the 1 year, if you've got any for the 1 year, I want you just to pick, you're going to pick 3 that are the most important to you, that you accomplish, the most important. And if you didn't have any for the first year, then second year, third year, so on. But if you do have some for the first within the next year, the 3 that are the most important, I want you to mark them off. And once you've chosen those 3, you'll probably need a little bit more space with your notebook paper. You can just kind of go 1, 2, 3. I want you to write out why that goal is important to you. And the reason that I'm having you do this is that I learned that the stronger that your why is for what you want, the likelier it is that you're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And what I'm trying to do with this exercise here is just help you become aware, A, of what you truly want, but B, why it is that you want these things. Because in life, we're always thinking about what's the next thing. Like, what are we aiming for? What are we working towards? You probably always ask what your goals are by your peers or maybe, employers, things like that, colleagues, so on and so forth. Most folks don't ever really ask you why. And if we don't think about it, we might not work hard enough to make those things happen. So that's what I want you to work through on that, why you want that specific thing to happen. We'll just do 2.5 on that, and then we'll come back. I'm happy to share mine as well, but of course I'll ask if anybody's going to share what they've got too. Okay, so while you keep working, I'm going to share I'm going to share one with you that is something that is a goal for me that's attainable the next year that is a little bit it's not odd, but it's just like, oh, really? You haven't learned how to do that? But yes. So one of the goals for me in the next year was to learn how to swim. Isn't that crazy? You get as old as I am, well, I'm not terribly old, 29, but you go your whole life, you don't know how to swim. How's that happen? Well, turns out when I was trying to learn how to swim, I had a terribly traumatic experience trying to learn how to swim. This instructor, this is how they did it back in the day, and some still do. They just take you when they think you're ready and they drop you in. And they say, go! And I remember little me just like clawing for air or whatever it was, and I told myself that after that one time, I said, I'm not going back, that's it. Told my mom that was it, it's not happening. And so, from then up until now, I was always afraid of something like that happening again, so I never wanted to go back and learn how to swim, okay? I'm in a position now where I've just had an opportunity. One of the people that I work with is an instructor, so I told myself, okay, I'm going to learn how to swim this year. And so that's something that I've been doing to complete one of my, within the next year goals. But the reason why didn't I do it before? Why not 10 years ago? Why not 8 years ago? The why wasn't strong enough. I got to a point where I told myself, if I can overcome this fear, this one thing, I would just prove to myself that you could do, anything. I mean, really, at least in my mind. So would one of you be willing to share one of your next year goals and the reason why you want to obtain that goal within the next year? Anybody? And you, seriously, again, everyone, all of you that have been sharing this evening, thank you so much for sharing when you have the opportunity to. It really, and just to kind of give you a quick reason why I am thanking you so much for that, is because even if you're in a position where you just don't feel comfortable sharing, that's totally fine. But being able to hearing these things from other people's experiences will impact you in certain ways that you may not have expected. So thank you so much for sharing that, and all of you that have so far. I've got just 2 more things we're going to go through, and don't worry, these next couple, I won't put anybody on the spot. But now where we're at, you know what you're proud of, you know what you value, and you know where you want to go, what you want. So the question is, what's stopping you? And what I'd like for you to write, so I'll use this example he just did, right? So his why was he didn't want to let anybody down. So what I'd like for you to do is you pick one of those goals, pick your why, and just write out the worst case scenario. What I mean by that is, what happens if you let everyone down? What is the worst possible thing that happens? What happens if you fail to be a better Christian for yourself? What is the worst case scenario that happens? What happens if maybe you do struggle with your mental health a little bit and you aren't able to experience all the seasons? What is the worst case scenario that happens? And the reason I'm asking you to think about this is because if you control for environmental factors and socioeconomic factors, oftentimes what things come down to that you don't make happen or that you can't make happen, it comes down to a fear of rejection and a fear of failure, more often than not. Again, that's controlling for other factors. There are other factors come into play, but more often than not, those two are at the bottom of almost everything. So I'm asking you to write out, just make it real. If you were unable to obtain this goal that you obtained, it's so important to you, at least allegedly it's so important to you, what is the worst case scenario? So another goal that I had that I'll share with you just ties into this. So one thing that's really tough that they don't really tell you before you leave school is when you go out on your own, you make a big life change, you move somewhere new, it is very difficult as an adult outside of school to meet new people and make new friends. It is very difficult. I am telling you this, it is not easy because this, it's set up very well in college to meet new people, make new friends, and build that community. And then when you leave this environment, it's just not how society works. It's just harder. People have more going on. They're less motivated, and that's just kind of how life is. To be totally honest with you, one of the goals that I had for myself was to just make one new friend. That was it, just one within the next year. And that would involve doing things like joining recreational sports leagues and so on and so forth and things like that. And the reason why, my why for that, was because if I were able to meet one new person and make one new friend, it would tell me that I was on my way to building the community that I have here in Indiana, around Purdue. I still have a community here at Purdue of folks that I always, touch base with, whether it's through the food pantry or through my fraternity. There's communities here, and it would tell me that I'm on my way to building a similar community there. And if I didn't make it happen, the worst case scenario is, if I fail at this goal, then the worst case scenario is that maybe I feel like I can't build that community there. Maybe I feel like I can't do it. And the question you ask myself is then, well, is that the end? Is that okay? Will you survive? And the answer to the question is yes. I'm not going to ask any of you to share your response to this one. I know this one's very, very personal. But what I want you to ask yourselves is this. If your worst case scenario happens, whatever that might be, can you make it through it? Can you make it through it? Can you survive? And the answer is likely yes. And I would go to assume in every case. Your worst case scenario, you can make it through. And the purpose of this is just to help you realize that you've got these underlying fears that sometimes drive your decisions, whether to get involved in an organization, to run for that student government position, or to not run for that leadership position that you so badly want, or that you tell yourself you so badly want. Maybe it drives your decisions to take a certain class. I could tell you when I was in school, there were classes that I was, you hear about it, oh, well, that professor, it's a tough class. Maybe I'll take the other one because the other guy, gives you multiple choice tests instead of free response, or, vice versa, whatever it might be. I know you guys know which classes you have in mind. But the worst case scenario happens, and what comes of it? You will be able to make it through. You are strong enough to do that. And so the last thing that I have for you then, after you've identified your values, you know what you want, you've thought about what your worst case scenario might be, you've made it real. If you're writing out, maybe you've made it real. Then the last thing is, what is your story that you will tell? What you are going to face, if you're just starting your collegiate career or you're on your way out soon, what you will face are stories that people will tell about you, about what you can do, and who you are. And what we have to realize is that these are stories. That's it, they're stories. I'll share a personal one for me, and then I'll have you work through the last activity here. One of the things that I was constantly told for probably the last 10 years, I'm kind of a quieter guy in a social setting, or I can be. And I would always get this comment, oh, you're so serious. It's like, oh, why are you so serious? It's like, or he's just a quiet guy. Like, why are you so quiet? Why are you so serious? That's what stuck. Why are you so serious? And the story that I would tell myself is that being this serious person isn't a good thing. It might be bad. And so I would try and maybe find ways to not be as quote-unquote serious, or whatever that might be. And that's just one story that gets told. I mean, you're told multiple stories. You could go into one setting. Maybe some of you are told that you talk too much. Maybe some of you are told that you have too much energy. These are stories that are being told about you. And so what I had to learn was that my story is that, sure, I could be a serious person, but that's your perception, or their perception, right? For me, I'm just a deep thinker. I just think very, very deeply. And my mind's always going. So that's all that it is. And it's something to celebrate. I love that about me. I'm a deep thinker. That's what it is. And I love that. And I want you to love the things about you that people are telling stories about. You need to reframe the story. Own it. And be aware of these things that people are telling, because that's something that they're dealing with. It has nothing to do with you. So the last activity I want you to do is the prompt on your sheet. You don't need to write it on that sheet. You can use your notebook paper. But the prompt is, if you really knew me. Prompt number 2. If you really knew me. So What I want you to do is think about a story that someone's telling about you, or that someone has told to you about you. Think about that story and respond. If you really knew me, you would know what? And go ahead and write that out. Think about that story that people are telling you about yourself and respond. If you really knew me, here's what I would say. Reframe the story and write that out. All right, I have one final question. Is there anyone who is willing to share that last prompt? Anyone willing to share that last prompt? If you really knew me. No pressure there, that's okay. That is totally fine. That is one that I've never had a response yet. So that's totally fine. That is not a problem. That is your story, yours to keep. Oh, we got one. Where? Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed you. Wonderful. All right, you've been, okay, come on in. All right, go ahead, go for it.
Yeah, I'd love to share. So if you really knew me, I'm not really super crazy, I'm not a mall shop, no do kind of guy. I'm passionate about what I love to do. I'm motivated and I'm enthusiastic because, everything I do, I feel like in this world, someone's got to bring the enthusiasm and the passion into life because really, life's lacking in it.
That's okay. That was the first one ever. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. That's fantastic. So what I'd like to do is offer you my contact if you ever want to do any sort of advice or anything like that. I'm here for you if you need it. Genuinely, I care about each and every one of you because I think that self-awareness is one of the most impactful things that we have, that we can control our story and control the future that our life takes on. So I'd love to hear from you. You can email me, feel free to text me. If you just want to chat about, business or career or anything, feel free to reach out. If you ever find yourself in Austin, Texas, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help get you set up if you, for some reason, find yourself there. Thank you all so much for lending your time to me this evening. Well, actually, you didn't lend it, you gave it to me. So thank you so much for giving me your time this evening. It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.